Hi guys, how are you? Type A here. So today we're going to be doing a tutorial on how to create sample-based instruments using Bitwig's native sampler. For instance, I created this instrument. It's a sample-based, like pad drum kind of deal with. It's a vocal sample, and you can play chords with it. This is pretty much a really basic build because it's just an EQ with reverb and delay, and pretty much all the work is been it's done with the like with the modulators and the using voice tagging. Yeah, so let's load a new sampler and let's look for one of the samples that I have already here. I was kind of like downloading samples from like organic instruments like violins and stuff like that. Yeah, so something like this. So when you're going to create sample-based instruments, you can throw to the sample whatever you want, so you can get different results. But if you like one synth stops and like monophonic material when the instrument is playing basically one note, it's going to do things like easier for you because the sampler has a built-in root note detection algorithm. So you basically throw whatever you want and you can detect the root note and play in tune. If it's like one single notes, it's going to be more easier for you to create different types of sounds. Whether if you throw in a chord, you're basically going to just play chords with one notes, or like there's not a rules about it, but I found that it's better if you start with one shots or like single notes on a sampler. So, for instance, this one sounds like this. Let me. Yeah, so it's basically like violin, viola kind of deal, and it's playing single notes. And I'm just going to look for the longest, for the longer one, for the longer note that is that's been held in the play, so I can like mess around with the texture mode and maybe turn it into a pad or a synth. Yeah, so around this part, let me. Now that I have my like the part that I'm going to loop, I can mess around with the envelope to make it more, to remove a bit of the clicky in the attack. And if you right click here in this portion, you can choose detect root key, and it's going to basically match the root key of the sample, so you can play in tune with your keyboard. So this one was already C4, but it adjusted the sense, so it's more fine-tuned. And now if you want to like make it longer, you can send this to texture mode and mess around with the speed. 20. Like I was introduced to voice stacking by another member in the Bitwig forum. It's a really powerful technique because it's going to allow just the sampler to sound like huge layer instrument with nothing but a sample and some clever panning tricks, and like setting the play speed in the voice stacking to different positions, so you get a wider taste of the sampler. And yeah, so for instance, I want to enable like 3 notes at the same time, and I'm going to use voice tag 2 to pan it completely to the right, and 3 to the left. So now it sounds like way more bigger. And I want to start randomly modulating parameters inside all of this stuff. For instance, like the speed, something that can be modulated subtly. And using the same voice tag modulators, we can mess around with the playhead here. So for instance, voice number 2 is going to start a bit, and voice number 3. Now if we want to drown this into like more evolving kind of texture, we can throw in a reverb. And a bit of delay. So it's basically an instrument already. You can play with this, like play a melody, play a pad sound. Let's use another of these ones to modulate the grain. Let's make it a bit faster. And now follow the notes. We can also loop inside these two markers. We can loop a portion and mess around with the loop length. So something like this. Make it like go back and forth. Yeah, so it's really good because you get to create these organic like textures and sound that if you set up to create this with a synthesizer, like a regular scene is going to take a lot and a lot of layering and messing around with parameters and modulating and detuning stuff. And with the sampler, like you can, this is just one portion of it. You can scroll through the entire sample with these same controllers, look for specific parts, or you can throw in a completely different sounding sample and it will like generate like something different. And you get to like to keep all of this configuration and just mess around with the sample. So I hope this is kind of helpful to you guys. In a way, it lets you create more instruments or take more advantage of your library. It's really a cool trick, and this is just like texture mode. You get to use stuff like with cycles mode, and it's going to behave more like a wavetable synthesizer. So you have like a specific control over playback, and you can mess around with more like a synthesizer and make all sorts of cool stuff. Or you can basically just use repeat mode and play like any traditional sample, or like messing around with the speed when you track with your keyboard. And so yeah, I hope this is helpful to you guys. Leave your comments below, and you know, like any particular tutorial you want to see, it will be cool.